It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when Sarah Walker, a small-town woman in her early 30s, sat down at her desk, staring at her computer screen. The ping of a new email flashed across her inbox, a notification she barely noticed. It was from an address she didn't recognize. Prince Afolabi at Royal Nigeria, Kamemo. Dear Miss Walker, I am Prince Afolabi, son of the late King Alaba of Nigeria. I am currently residing in exile due to political unrest in my country, and I am in dire need of your assistance. My father left behind a fortune, but it is currently locked in a bank account. With your help, I can transfer this wealth into your account and reward you generously. Sarah raised an eyebrow, skeptical but intrigued. The email went on, detailing how her quick response would allow her to claim a 30% reward. The rest, she said, would be for the prince's family's safety. She was about to close the email when something caught her attention. The name Afolabi felt familiar. She had read about a royal family in Nigeria years ago, when she was doing research on African monarchies for a college paper. She hesitated. Something felt off, but she couldn't resist. After all, what did she have to lose? Within hours, she received another email from the prince. This time it was more personal, detailing the struggles of his family and the threat they faced from political adversaries. His tone was desperate, imploring Sarah to trust him. She felt the weight of his words tug at her heart. I am counting on you, Miss Walker. You must understand, without your help, my entire family could be wiped out by our enemies. The email read. The next morning, Sarah received a call. It was a man with an accent she didn't recognize. I am Agent Kwame, he said. I have been tasked with helping the prince move his funds safely. Please, for your own safety, do not share this matter with anyone. Your confidentiality is paramount. Sarah's head spun as the plan unfolded. She was to wire a small sum of money to a bank account in exchange for a guaranteed return. It all seemed too easy, but Agent Kwame reassured her that it was a simple transaction, just a formality. Days passed, and Sarah's involvement deepened. She transferred more money, each time convinced that the prince's claims were legitimate. The promises of wealth and security seemed just within reach. The communication escalated, with the prince now sending personal messages, claiming that Sarah was the only person he trusted. Their bond grew stronger. The emails were no longer formal, but instead carried a tone of friendship. I never thought I would find someone so kind, so willing to help. You are my savior, Sarah, he wrote. Once this is over, we will live in luxury together. You will be rewarded beyond your imagination. But the mounting money transfers began to gnaw at Sarah. Each time she sent funds, the promises of a fortune grew more exaggerated and the prince's demands more urgent. The messages shifted from reassuring to demanding. Sarah, the situation has changed. We must act quickly or everything will be lost. Please send more funds. This is the final step. I swear. One evening, after a particularly long string of emails, Sarah received a message that made her heart skip. It wasn't from Prince Afolabi or Agent Kwame. It was from an anonymous account titled A Friend. Sarah, I know you think you're helping a prince, but this is a scam. I've been watching. You've been sending money to a man who doesn't exist. He is part of a network, and I've seen many others fall for the same story. If you continue, you'll never see your money again. The words hit her like a punch to the gut. She sat back, stunned. The realization began to sink in. The prince, the agent, everything was a lie. Panic clawed at her chest. She immediately tried to call the bank, but the numbers kept changing. The prince's email inbox was full, and Agent Kwame's phone was disconnected. In desperation, Sarah replied to the email from the anonymous account. What do I do? I've already sent too much. I've given everything. Within minutes, a response appeared. You need to stop. They'll keep asking for more until you have nothing left. The best thing you can do is cut them off completely. Block all communication. They'll try to scare you into sending more. Do not fall for it. But it was too late. The scammers had already begun to use Sarah's personal information. Bank accounts were drained, identity theft occurred, and a sense of dread loomed over Sarah. It was more than just money. It was a betrayal of trust, of humanity. Days turned into weeks. Sarah tried to report the scam to the authorities, but the complexity of the operation made it difficult to trace. It wasn't just a single fraudster, it was a network, an intricate web of deceit that spanned across continents. The emotional toll was heavy. Sarah, once hopeful, now faced the consequences of her actions. She had not only lost her money, but also the trust she had placed in people. The prince had vanished, and Sarah was left with nothing but a feeling of emptiness. She stopped responding to the emails, cut all contact, but the psychological scars remained. The lessons learned were bitter and painful, but Sarah was determined to move forward. She would never be the same, but she would be wiser. Months later, as Sarah watched the news, a breaking story caught her attention. A major scam ring operating out of West Africa had been busted by international authorities. It was the same scheme that had ensnared her. They had conned countless others, many of whom were too ashamed to speak out. Sarah's heart ached as she realized how many people had fallen victim to the same scam. The pain, the betrayal. It was a universal experience for many. But for Sarah, it was a reminder that, in the end, the greatest con was not about money, it was about trust. Like and subscribe for more.